Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about some commanders that absolutely turn your opponent's plans upside down. Let's jump into it. So first up, we've got Zancha Sleeper Agent, which most definitely turns the game on its head for opponents, changes all of their plans. Basically, every single player's plans get changed with this one. Zancha Sleeper Agent, including yours, a 5/5 for Phyrexian minion for 3 mana in Rakdos, enters the battlefield in control of an opponent of your choice. That player now has a new creature. Congratulations! That being said, Zancha attacks each combat Fable and can attack its owner or planeswalkers its owner controls. By paying 3, Zancha's controller loses 2 life and you draw a card. Any player may activate this ability. So literally, again, you are giving them a sleeper agent. You're saying, hey, you know what, here, take this creature, do my bidding, go swing elsewhere, not at me, at other players. Cool, good for you. That being said, now, everyone has a mana sink that they can utilize to draw cards. And while they do so, here's the thing. You're going to be losing some life. So basically, you are giving that player, well, yeah, something they can attack with. Cool, awesome, good for you, great. But now everyone else is going to be utilizing it as a draw engine and using your life pool as a draw engine. So yeah, this is definitely a commander that, well, can be a complete reversal of how things are going in the game, completely change an opponent's plans to, oh, you know what? Instead of doing this on my turn, I'm going to actually utilize Zancha to actually draw some cards. I'm sorry. I know I'm taking your life away, but I'm sorry. And even the opponent who has Zancha's like, you know what? Sometimes I need to draw cards, and I'm going to take life away from myself. Oh, goodness. Yes, this does change up plans entirely. Zancha, you are super spicy and super fun. Let's keep things rolling, though, with Marisi, Breaker of the Coil. This changes up your opponent's plans in multiple ways. A 5/4 Cat Warrior for 4 mana in Naya. Your opponents can't cast spells during combat. Lovely. I absolutely love that effect. First of all, I just want to mention that technically changes their plans in that the way that they interact in combat, obviously, they can't when it comes to actually casting spells. And technically, if you were to, build a combo deck around this that, maybe combos off during combat, your opponents need to plan ahead of time to try to stop that. So that is one reason why it changes their plans. The main reason, though, is whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, goad each creature that player controls. And again, goading means that basically until your next turn, they have to attack and can attack you if able. So basically, hey, you know what? Let's just get some tiny creatures through, some tiny evasive creatures through on my opponents, and now I am forcing them to attack. And that is something that happens in Commander. It completely changes the entire concept of many Commander tables, basically, where there are a lot of decks out there, and I'm guilty of this as well, that like to just turtle up, that like to just kind of build things out and just battle Cruiser Commander and just say, you know what, okay, I'm just building things up, and I don't really feel like attacking because I just want to keep building to like the actual point where I can just win the game all at once. But now instead, oh yeah, you are forced to commit. You are forced to attack. You're forced to put yourself out there. And that can be a massive change for so many decks out there. Where now you are suddenly sending some creatures into combat that you normally wouldn't be sending into combat. Like, oh, well, my commander is kind of like a little wimp. It's got a cool ability, but it just like is supposed to sit back here and not, attack. But now you're sending it into danger. And you're sending it at your opponents. So yes, now all of a sudden, your opponents' are getting attacked, and you are fine. But yeah, this is a commander that changes up things, again, in multiple ways. Again, shutting down opponents from casting spells in combat, but also, yeah, forcing those attacks, those juicy attacks that they normally wouldn't do. So yeah, have your opponents take out each other, and have fun with this one. Now, on to the next one, though, with Queen Marchesa, which most definitely changes up the game entirely. In a somewhat similar way, I would say, to Marisi, but in a more politically charged way. Queen Marchesa is a 3/3 human assassin with Death Touch and Haste for 4 mana. And yes, this is a commander that says, hey, when it enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. Being able to, I guess I should have said Mardu. It's a Mardu commander. There we go. I knew I was forgetting something. Enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. So all of a sudden, you introduce Monarch into this game. And by introducing Monarch, you say, hey, you know what? Who wants cards? Does anyone want cards? Well, I want to keep the cards, number one. But if you take the cards from me, at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent is the Monarch, you get a 1/1 black assassin creature with Death Touch and Haste. Basically, I am the monarch. That is my title. That is my job. If you take it from me, I will come get it back. Introducing Monarch completely changes the entire aspect of the game where, again, players do like to, typically in Commander, not always, but typically, kind of sit back, not make enemies, by attacking someone just for no reason. So, instead of having people turtle up, you are forcing that interaction, you are forcing that attack, because I have never seen a Monarch game where players aren't like, you know what, I need to go get that Monarch. I need to go get it. I have to go get it. That extra free card at the end of the turn, yeah, that seems like a really, really good thing. So being able to essentially say, let's introduce some incentive for opponents to actually swing at each other. And yes, again, create some maybe tension between players that wouldn't be there, where it's like, wait, why'd you hit me? Well, I want Monarch. Well, I need it though. I need it right now. No, what, you just hit me for a lot though with that. Well, yeah, that was the only creature I knew I could get through. So you can create an entirely new dynamic to the game, which is so much fun. Because, again, sometimes players can kind of get stuck in their ways of just sitting around. And if this commander says, no, there's no getting stuck in your ways. Keep swinging. Keep doing it. Monarch, yes. Wait until you see this next one, though, because Feldegriff is here. Yeah, one of my favorite commanders of all time. One that can definitely get overlooked by players just because, well, look at it. It's a purple hippo with wings. That's a really old card, I think, from Alliances. And at first glance, you might be like, why would I ever play that? Like, what's the point of this as a commander? I'm here to tell you that you can entirely change your opponent's plans with this adorable hippo, and they'll think that it was their idea. A 4/4, I believe it's a Feldegriff, errated, for 4 mana in Bant. By paying a single white mana, it gets flying till end of turn, and you make an opponent gain 2 life. You're welcome. By paying a blue, you bounce it back to its owner's hand, and target opponent may draw a card. I mean, thank goodness there's the may, or this would be like a combo commander. Yeah, it's not really a combo commander because of that. The may, stops that. Anyways, by paying a green, it gets trampled till end of turn, and you give an opponent a hippo. Congratulations, you get this 1/1 hippo. Yay. So again, there are 2 things on this commander that are not maze, right? Like if you actually say, you know what, I want to give this flying, you force an opponent to gain life. There's not really any ways in this color combination really to take advantage of that, force life gain in a way. I guess you could okay, I get out the Transcendence or whatever that one card is, and I donate it. Cool. All right. That's one way, I guess. But typically when it comes to this, though, what you're going to be doing to change your opponent's plans is give them hippos. Now, normally you wouldn't be like, hey, I want to give my opponents all the hippos in the world. You don't want to give your opponents creatures, typically with most strategies. This one, though, is a great political control commander. You utilize those hippos as incentives. You say, hey, opponent, you know what? I see this other opponent is attacking you. And that's not nice. So, hey, you know what if I give you some blockers? Maybe we could make a deal. Let me give you some hippos and you can block, okay? Just some chump blockers, right? Maybe I'll give you some extra hippos, though. But with those extra hippos, I ask you to, when I ask you to attack, you attack with them and you don't attack me. Oh, okay, that seems like a fair deal. Why not? Or you just keep giving an opponent all the hippos and you make them your buddy throughout the game. You say, you know what, let's just team up right now. Let's take down that other opponent. And then all of a sudden, at the end, it'll just be the 2 of us, and you'll have all these hippos, and good for you. You change up plans for opponents by making deals, by wheeling and dealing with them, and by making them a massive army of hippos that they definitely otherwise wouldn't have had. And with that massive army of hippos, they might think they're in control of the game until you, maybe take those hippos back or turn the hippos against them in some way. Or just say, hey, I cast an Azura's Predation, and I just took out all your hippos, and now I've got a beast army, and they're taking you out. Yeah, Feldegriff can definitely change all of your opponent's plans. I mean, literally, again, the opponent that you're making the deals with, and the opponents are like, stop giving that player hippos. My gosh, they've got a massive army. What are you doing? Oh, no. Feldegriff is so much fun. Check out my episodes on it. It's fun. Up next on the list, oh, the pain. Lysa, Shroud of Dusk, my goodness, is a very, very, very painful commander that definitely changes up your opponent's plans. A 5/5 Angel for 5 mana, and Orzhov, rather than pay 2 for each time you've cast this spell for the command zone this game, you can pay 2 life that many times. Basically, get around commander attacks by paying life instead. Flying lifelink, whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 2 life. Now opponents have to, weigh the actual cost of a spell, not just in mana, but in life now as well. Because now there's a cost to it where you have to actually look at your life total. Maybe not right at the beginning, right? You're like, oh, whatever, 2 life per card. Okay. Eventually, it's going to be like, oh no, I'm at 20 life, and do I really want to cast this Opt? That's like a 10th of my life total. I mean, especially once you're down to like 10 life. It's like, oh, yeah, Opt, maybe I won't cast that. Maybe I'll just do something else right now with my mana because, casting a single mana draw card spell, doesn't really seem worth it for 1/5 of my life total. This is something that punishes opponents. I mean, it punishes you too, right? But you've got ways around it. I mean, obviously this commander itself, it's got lifelink, so you're going to be gaining life with it. You've got ways to either swap life totals, which can really change up your opponent's plans when they're like, I'm at 40. Oh no, now I'm at 1. Uh-oh. So yeah, again, you can either have life swap with this, you can just have a lot of life gain cards with this commander so that you aren't as impacted from that life loss, or ways to just kind of reset your life total as well, whereas your opponents probably don't have those things in their deck, and therefore they are at the mercy of this commander. They are now having to change their plans, change what they're casting, change what they want to do, all because they are being punished by this amazing commander. It is, well, very effective at its job. Yes. Okay, this one you might have seen coming, but Send Triplets is one of the saltiest cards in Commander for a reason. One of the saltiest commanders of all time, and it is one that most definitely changes up your opponent's plans because, well, there might not be any other commander out there that actually impacts an opponent more than this one in a way that they don't want to be impacted. A 3/3 human wizard for 5 mana and Esper. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. This turn, that player can't play spells or activate abilities and plays with their hand revealed. You can play cards from that player's hand this turn. There are very few things like this, where it's just like, literally, you know what? You don't do anything, and I basically control your turn, kind of, but they're my cards now instead. Yeah, this is a commander that flips an opponent's strategy completely. It's on its head, because they can't bank on them actually having all the cards that they left with, and also not knowing that they're now going to be in play under your control. Literally, they are like, okay, the way that you're planning this, if you're an opponent, is like, okay, well, I'm trying to get rid of things on my turn, like get them into play quickly. I'm trying to get, like, make sure that I can control my cards, because if an opponent realizes I've got good cards in my hand, which maybe they've got ways to see my hand, then all of a sudden they're going to be targeting me, shutting me down from doing anything on their turn, and actually, again, utilizing my own cards against me and the rest of the table. So it can be a game of kind of cat and mouse where it's like, oh, I'm just trying to kind of like get certain things out of my hand in a way where like maybe I don't need it right away, but I really don't want that opponent to have it right away either. So yeah, this is one where your own cards can be turned against you. You're shut down on that player's turn. Yeah, Send Triplets is salty, incredibly salty, always toward the top of the salt score for a reason. It is one that definitely changes up game plans entirely. Time to shift gears, though, to another commander that is super, super salty, but for a different reason. A super, slimy, salty slug. Yeah, here we go. Toxrill the Corrosive. Toxrill the Toxic, some call it. A 7/7 slug for 7 mana in black, but is a Dimir commander. Beginning of each end step, put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. Whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, create a 1/1 black slug creature token. Am I paying Dimir? Sacrifice a slug, draw a card. This is a commander that just can decimate boards again and again and again. It entirely changes the game, because what this does is it says, hey, you know what? If you get creatures in play, I mean, let's say you just have creatures in play already, they're going to get taken out. Maybe kind of slowly over time, but not all that slowly, because essentially, again, it's on every single upkeep that slime counter occurs. So literally, if one trip around the table, that's 4 slime counters, and yeah, that's going to take out a lot of creatures very quickly. So essentially, your creatures are going to get taken out. You're going to be panicking about that. And then also, when it comes to actually trying to play more creatures, it's not worth it sometimes to even play a creature if you don't have a way to deal with Toxrill, because if you don't deal with Toxrill, you just play that creature, it's like, okay, I play it. The opponent's got Toxrill, like, okay, great. End step, counter. Next turn, end step, counter. Next turn, end step, oh, your creature's gone. Oh, no. Yeah, so again, even if you have massive creatures, they're going to get shrunken down incredibly quickly. And if you have small creatures, they're just going to be gone right away. This is a commander that changes the dynamic of the game where, again, opponent's creatures are going to get taken out, and they literally can't keep an army in play at all. There is no way to keep an army in play with this one, while you're also literally just building up an army for the Toxrill player. There's a reason why this is salty, there's a reason why it's effective, and there's a reason why it completely changes up your opponent's game plans. Alright, buckle up for this next one, though, with a Praetor. We've got Shieldred, Whispering One, the OG Shieldred. A 6/6 Praetor for 7 mana. Swamp Walk. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh, by the way, at the beginning of each month's upkeep, the player sacrifices a creature. Yeah, you could probably fit in like any of the Praetors into this discussion for something that changes up the game entirely for your opponents, because yeah, they kind of have like massive upside for you and massive downside for your opponents, where now your opponents literally, again, on their upkeep have to sacrifice creatures every single time. So again, kind of like Toxrill, where it's like, is it even worth playing certain things? I mean, if an opponent has no creatures in play and they're like, I'm going to play this creature, unless they've got an immediate impact on the game or they've got a way to make, creature tokens or have more creatures in play, it's just going to get taken out on the next upkeep. So like literally you need to make sure that you've got other ways to, well, protect it, incentivize, you to get more creatures in play, and, basically all the I mean, just think about Jin-Gitaxias and how much that changes things, too. All the Praetors could fit into this bucket of changes up your opponent's plans entirely, and sometimes in very salty ways, though I'd say Shieldred sees a bit less play, so it's a bit less salty, even though it is quite effective at what it does, versus like a Jin-Gitaxias, which is like, hey, opponents, you have no hands, or Vorinclex, like, hey, you can't untap your lands. Yeah, Praetors can be pretty disgusting and amazing all at the same time. Shieldred, change up plans. Onward we go to Rorikthar the Unbound. I always forget that Rorikthar has like a hand axe, super metal. Anyways, a 6/6 Ogre Warrior for 6 mana in Gruul. Vigilance Reach. When it attacks, it's going to attack each combat of Fable. Cool. Or each turn of Fable, I should say. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, Rorikthar deals 6 damage to that player. Yeah, very simple, very effective at changing up the game for your opponents. Your non-creature spells are deadly, like super deadly, even without like any kind of modifications. And of course, there are ways to like double up the amount of damage that this deals. Yeah, this just says, hey opponents, you're going to get punished a ton, an absurd amount, for casting any non-creature spell. So again, do you really want to cast that Opt? Do you really want to cast that Opt, or is it worth casting that Mana Rock right now? Because 6 damage coming to your face. Or again, if you've got a damage doubler, 12 damage. Damage tripler, 18 damage for casting an Opt. Ow. Yeah, again, literally just saying, you know what? Creature spells, completely fine. No problems there. Non-creature spells, I will bring this hand axe toward you, I guess, is what Rorikthar is doing. But yeah, basically being able to punish opponents in that way changes up plans entirely, where again, casting certain spells, casting many spells, really isn't worth it at all. In a more specific way than Liesa, but again, like in a bigger way too, where it's just not worth casting those spells, because if they do, they're going to be just decimating their own life total again. Even in a game of Commander, decimating their life total. This is like going down, in a standard game, it'd be like 20 down to, I mean, that's like 130 life total basically. In Commander, it's like, all right, 1/6-ish to 1/7 of your life total going down every single time a non-creature spell is cast. Absolutely insane, and absolutely a way to make an opponent change their plans. Things are just heating up, though. Next up, we've got Zedru the Great-Hearted. And if anyone ever tries to convince you this is a group hug commander, they are most likely lying to you. So yeah, though this is a commander where, hey, the game changes because they're donating you some really bad gifts. People are really bad gift givers sometimes, and we're all guilty of that. But this one is an intentional. A 2/4 Minotaur Monk for 4 mana in Jeskai. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of permanents you own that your opponents control. By paying Jeskai colors, target opponent against roll target permanent you control. Basically, this is one where, the Zedru player is incentivized to give opponents things. By doing so, they're like, hey, you know what? I got this for you. And the reason why is, well, I'm just feeling generous today, and I also feel good about giving you things, and by doing that, I get life and I draw cards. But by the way, I'm really bad at giving gifts, and what I gave you is something that is going to completely change your game plan, because now I gave you the card 9 lives, and essentially, Well, unless you've got a way to get rid of it, which, I mean, by get rid of it, you mean you need to, like, donate it, because if you can't just, like, destroy it, if you destroy it, you lose. But yeah, if you don't do that, you're probably going to lose pretty soon, because I already utilized up a lot of those lives. Yeah, those type of, like, hey, when this card leaves play, you lose the game type effects, usually have, like, a really cool effect on them, but then, like, yeah, they can go quickly. So by giving them to an opponent, they go quickly. So yes, this is one that entirely changes up the perspective of players on a game, completely changes their game plan, and also there are certain cards that just literally shut things down. Again, like, I think it's Steel Golem, where it's like, hey, like, you can't cast creature spells. It's a really garbage card, but works great for Zedru, because Zedru's like, okay, I can't cast creature spells. Oh, but wait, I just donated it to an opponent? Oh, I'm sorry, Stompy player over there. You can't cast creature spells. Was that your plan? Was that part of your game plan? Oh, no, your plans changed. Yeah, Zedru might be, like, the number one commander when it comes to opponents changing game plans. Maybe outside of, like, Sand Triplets. Wait until you see this next one, though, because your lock of Scorched Thrash is here. A 4/4 Viashino Shaman Vigilance for 4 mana. Enjund. A player losing unspent mana causes that player to lose that much life. By paying 1 tap, each player adds Jund colors. This is a commander that brings Mana Burn back. Mana Burn is back on the menu, which is something that players, again, like back in the day, had to actually pay attention to. And these days, they're like, yeah, whatever, you know, well, I cast this giant ritual effect, I got all this mana, but I actually can't spend all of it. Wow. And this is like, you know what? Now you're punished for that. And actually, I'm going to give you mana. And in fact, I'm going to have so many ways to give you so much mana with this commander by, you know, maybe paying for it, untapping it, doing it again, and making sure that you've got no way to play cards when you do so. Maybe, you know, I'm doing it on my turn, and you don't have instant speed cards. Cool. I'm changing up your game plan. I mean, regardless, you are changing up your opponent's game plans by giving them mana. You can, you know, work deals with opponents with this one in some weird ways. You're like, okay, hey, we're in a problematic spot. The player there's got a massive army. Do you got any way that you can, like, you know, maybe stop them a little bit? And they're like, well, if only I had 2 extra mana. Perfect. I'll give you some extra mana. There you go. So yeah, you could change up plans in that way, in an incentivized way, but you can also change up plans by being like, everyone gets too much mana. They're like, I can't spend it. Oh, I'm burning. Oh, yeah, I remember how things were back in the day. Yeah, mana burn. Bringing Mana Burn back on the menu most definitely changes up opponents' game plans. Okay, we had to get here at some point, but yeah, Grand Arbiter Augustin the Fourth. Ugh, oh goodness. Definitely changes up opponents' game plans. Now, this one, unlike any other one I've mentioned on this episode, I mean, I guess Sand Triplets is up there too, probably. Toxrill is also on the solid score, but I don't think anywhere near this one. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure Grand Arbiter Augustin IV is literally one of the saltiest cards of all time. A 2/3 Human Advisor for 4 mana in Azorius. White spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Blue spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Oh, and by the way, spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast. Yeah, that is an absolutely brutal and terrible effect that, again, entirely changes up what your opponent's plans and strategies are. Because your spells cost less to cast, but your opponent's spells now have a taxing effect on them. And believe me, they are going to be expecting more taxing effects too if they're playing against this and actually agreed to play against it ahead of time. So, this is one where, again, first of all, I guess I should have mentioned this on Sand Triplets and Toxrill. In this one, you probably should be asking, in fact, with Grand Arbiter Augustin, I'm telling you, you should be asking ahead of time if it's okay if you play this commander. Because this is basically a stacks effect in the command zone. Many players out there aren't okay with playing against, you know, stacks commanders or stacks decks entirely. In the casual space, I should say. So, make sure you ask ahead of time. That being said, yeah, this most definitely impacts the game. It makes your opponent's resources basically less effective. And all of a sudden, they need to now pay more for everything that they have to do. So, again, they're going to be making tough decisions. Okay, I wish I could cast 2 things this turn because I normally would be able to, but now I can only cast 1. What do? I need to plan ahead. I need to use my resources more effectively, but I can't. Oh, and by the way, the opponent who's got the Grand Arbiter Augustin IV just played another taxing effect, so now things cost even more. It definitely changes up opponents' plans. It slows them down to a crawl, while all, also, really super speeding the actual Grand Arbiter Augustin IV player because they're getting their spells cheaper. So yeah, this is something that definitely changes up the game. And again, super salty. Ask ahead of time in a casual pod. You're not ready for this next one, though, and neither are your opponents, because Miri Weatherlight Duelist most definitely changes up your opponent's game plans. A 3/2 Cat Warrior with First Strike for 3 mana in Selesnya. Whenever Miri attacks, each opponent can't block with more than one creature this combat. As long as Miri is tapped, no more than one creature can attack you each combat. This is one that literally says, hey, you know what? Your army matters differently in different ways. Again, you could have the most massive army of all time. You're like, I have 1,000 tokens in play. Look at my massive army of warriors. Ha 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 ha. I don't know how you got there, but you did. Ha 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 ha. Okay, Miri says, well, hey, you know what? I'm attacking, so you can't block with more than one. What? Yeah, you've got 1,000 creatures, right? Yes. You can't block with more than one. Awesome. By the way, I Voltron my Miri, and I've got a ton of things on Miri, and Miri is going to trample over your tiny little token. That massive army does nothing for you when it comes to blocking. When it comes to attacking, okay, cool. You can go elsewhere. You can swing your massive armies elsewhere. But when it comes to attacking me, it's a one-on-one. And by the way, yeah, it's not going to go well for you, because I probably have some backup. I probably have another creature, or, you know, maybe I've got a way to actually untap Miri after you already attack, essentially, too. So, this is a commander that kind of just, I mean, like, I think Silent Arbiter is the card, essentially, but it kind of does something similar to that, where, like, it changes the entire perspective on combat when it comes to trying to block you, and then also trying to attack you. Because if it's a one-on-one, Miri is going to win, essentially. And you are always going to have a one-on-one as long as you control things with Miri. And of course, again, if you've got like some force tap, force untap strategies going around this one, you can do some really crazy things with it too. Wait until you see this next one, though. Ariete of a Charmed Apple. I never know if it's Ariete or Ariete or whatever. Ariete? I think it's just Ariete. Anyways, a 2/4 human warlock for 3 mana and Orzhov. I mean, what opponents really see is the name is trouble with this one. Each creature that's enchanted by an aura you control can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life for X number of auras you control. This is a commander that is just super spicy. It is one that says, you know what, I'm thinking about auras in a completely different way. Auras now are going to be utilized how I want them to be utilized. I am going to say, hey, you know what? It's basically a pacifism. Don't worry about it. But it's not a pacifism. Because what it is essentially is, hey, you can't attack me. That being said, you can go elsewhere if you want to. So, yeah. Again, you're not goading creatures, but you are incentivizing opponents to attack each other. Because, again, a player wants to, you know, kind of make the most out of their turn. If they've got some great creatures in play, or especially if they've got a creature that maybe has an attack trigger or a combat damage trigger, they're still going to want that. They're still going to want to swing with creatures. So they will be swinging at your other opponents because they aren't able to swing at you with their best creatures because you aura'd them. That's not a phrase, but yes, you know what I mean. So, by doing that, you are putting pressure on opponents, but also putting pressure on everyone else because you are draining your opponents based on the auras that you control. So, all of a sudden, you are building up this massive glut of auras. You are turning that clock. You are turning things quicker on your opponents while they're also, well, not able to really deal with you with their best creatures, the creatures they want to. So, maybe they're trying to take each other down, essentially, to make it so that they are the one who can compete with you at the end. This is such a spicy commander, again, that turns auras on its head. A fun card. Speaking of fun, okay, I can't even lie about that. All right, Maha Its Feathers Knight is a newer commander-ish in the grand scheme of things, and it is a commander that is already high on the salt score, and for good reason. A 6/5 elemental bird with Flample for 5 mana in black. For those of you who are new out there, flying and trample, that's Flample. War, discard a card. Creature opponents control base toughness 1. Base toughness 1 is a brutal thing. It is so incredibly brutal. And again, this is one of those cards, if you showed it to another player, like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they'd be like, what? That exists? Especially like 20 years ago. They'd be like, a 6/5 flyer that has flying and trample for 5 mana with no downs? In fact, it's all upside. What is Ward? But yeah, being able to just say, hey, your opponent's creatures have base toughness 1 completely changes up their plans. Because again, doesn't matter how big that creature is. It could be the most massive dinosaur out there of all time. And it doesn't matter. It just has 1 toughness. So again, if anything blocks it, it's taken out. And of course, that's not all. Again, it's not just, oh, okay, basically everything kind of has death touch in a way, except for against your creatures, because your creatures aren't affected by this. what also is another factor, kind of like talks real well, you can't keep creatures in play, really. Because, again, what ends up happening is the Maha player has ways to, well, shrink your opponent's creatures by -1/-1. Or just -0/-1 really would be effective, but yeah, -1/-1 is more common. So yeah, having something in play like, oh yeah, hey, every creature gets -1/-1 permanently. Oh, that just makes it so that your opponent's creatures basically have base toughness 0, and they are taken out. They literally come into play and they're like, I'm gone, goodbye, oh no. So unless the opponent has like anthems to combat this, no, they literally can't play creatures. So it's something where your opponents have to change up their strategy entirely because well, again, if they actually have creatures that can stick and play with base toughness 1, okay, cool. But they really can't be very effective in combat all that much because they're going to get taken out. And again, literally anything will take them out. And at a certain point, again, you kind of lock down the board where opponents literally can't play creatures because they'll just get taken out right away because their toughness is going to be 0. Yeah, Maha is super salty for a reason, completely changes up opponents' plans. Now, this one is worth your attention, and it's going to be getting all the attention of your opponents when it's in play. Nekusar, the Mind Razor. Yeah, one of the kind of OG popular commanders, and one that, well, changes things up for a reason, and opponents are going to have to play around this or take it out. They really need to take it out. A 2/4 zombie wizard for 5 mana in Grixis. At the beginning of each player's draw set, the player draws an additional card. You're welcome, group hug. Everyone gets cards. Not really at all. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Nekusar deals 1 damage to that player. Super simple, super effective. Basically, Unrolled Dreams, but on a commander, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, yeah, what were you doing? You gonna draw some cards? Oh, okay, you gotta pay for that. It's gonna be a little punishing effect kind of in a way where, yeah, players like, okay, I play my massive draw spell. Ouch. Yeah. Pull from Tomorrow just dealt 7 damage to me for casting that. Yeah, I've got to consider kind of what I'm doing with these types of cards. But of course, also the Nekusar player most likely is playing a ton of wheels because wheels are super effective. Obviously, with Nekusar, it's going to be dealing a lot of damage. Again, like everyone discards their hand, draws 7, and all of a sudden you're taking 7 damage a pop, which is insane. And of course, that entirely, kind of any kind of a wheel commander really changes up your opponent's plans, entirely shifting kind of what they were going to be doing. It's impossible to plan ahead because opponents are like, okay, I got this hand. All right, I want to do this turn, this next turn, maybe this the turn after that. Okay, I play this card, and then I wait till my next turn. But in the meantime, in between my turns, the Nekusar player literally just cast a wheel. I discard my hand, and I get a brand new hand. And I'm like, okay, well, my plans changed. What do I do with this now? I don't know. So literally, you're changing up your opponent's plans all the time. And again, you are making them actually have to decide if they want to keep drawing some cards, with their cards or not, because if they do, they're going to get punished and get taken out. Nekusar is brutal, and of course, there are other effects like this that are going to be in the deck, and maybe damage doublers, damage triplers, all those things. Nekusar is brutal, and yeah, effective for a reason. Things are just heating up, though, because Xanathar Guild Kingpin is here. A 5/6 Beholder for 6 mana in Dimir. Beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. Until end of turn, that player can't cast spells. You may look at the top card of that player's library anytime. The top of their library anytime, I should say. You may play the top card of their library, and you may spend mana as though mana color to cast spells this way. Now, this one I'll be a little bit quick on, hopefully, because this is somewhat like Send Triplets, I would say, where, again, you are shutting that player down on their turn. But instead of stealing from their hand, you are stealing from the top of the library. So in a way, it's less salty because, you're not, directly taking from their hand. Though players definitely can get salty about this one as well because, yeah, you're shutting them down on the turn. So, yeah, that definitely changes up their plans a bit. And also, yeah, they, again, would have been drawing into certain cards, but now they're not. So you're like, oh, yeah, you were going to be getting that, but no. I get to cast, I get to play it. So again, now the opponent has to play against their own cards, which again completely changes up the way that they're going to be playing. Xanathar, not quite Send Triplets level salty, but yeah, still somewhat a salt-inducing card sometimes. Marchesa is back again, but a different version of Marchesa, the Black Rose, a 3/3 human wizard with Dethrone for 4 mana in Grixis, and again, Dethrone means whenever it attacks the player with the most life or tied for the most life, you get a counter on it. Another creature you control have Dethroned, so that's cool. Whenever a creature you control with a counter on it dies, though, you turn it back to the battlefield under your control to begin the next end step. Now, what makes this commander super spicy is taking your opponent's creatures and using them against them. So this is a commander where, again, unlike Toxrill or unlike Maha, which are just like, hey, opponents, you never get creatures. So don't play creatures because they're going to get taken out, or like literally just get taken out right away with Maha. This one, though, is more so, hey, play creatures. Go for it. But I very well might just have a bunch of threaten effects in my deck, take your creatures, swing at you if you get the most life, or whoever's got the most life. They're gonna do whatever they do, and then I probably have ways to sacrifice them if they don't get taken out, so then they come back and play under my control permanently. So yeah, this is basically turning threatening effects into, like, mind control effects instead. You can utilize this commander very effectively to, again, utilize your opponent's creatures against them, and that's gonna change up the way they play, because they're gonna be setting, oh, maybe I shouldn't play that creature. Maybe I shouldn't play that creature right now because that player might just steal it and actually utilize it. There's like another creature on the board right now that another opponent has that is more incentivized for them to go get. So like maybe like let that be the target and like I'll hold off for now. So you can really change up how your opponent's plans are played with this one. Pay close attention to this next one, though, and if you're the opponent of this commander, you most definitely will be paying attention to it. Lavinia Azorius Renegade, a 2/2 human soldier for 2 mana in Azorius. Each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with mana value greater than the number of lands that player controls. And whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana is spent to cast it, counter that spell. I mean, this is like a lesser version of, like a Grand Arbiter Augustin IV, obviously. Like, this isn't like taxing opponents, but it is an effect that prevents opponents from doing certain things. So, yeah, it's something that players have to play around entirely. If opponents have things that like cascading effects, yeah, you can't do that. You can't cast things for free. No casting things for free at all. So it can change up plans entirely comes to that. But also, again, like literally like, oh, yeah, you need to like get lands in play. Like your mana rocks like kind of don't help you in certain ways. Like when it comes to like trying to cast bigger spells, like you need to like get lands in play to actually do things. It is something that can shut things down. It is something that I would say, like, isn't nearly as salt-inducing because it doesn't see as much play, but it is still a commander that definitely changes up opponents' plans. And finally, the adorable Kibo Uktabi Prince, a 2/2 Monkey Noble for 3 mana in green, but it's actually a Gruul commander. Tap each player creates a colorless artifact token named Banana with tap to sacrifice this artifact, add red or green. You gain 2 life. Rules question out there for any judges out there. This is an interesting one because, like, hey, like, if this just said, like, create a treasure, like, these days, like, there's not, like, reminder text, like, for what a treasure is. Usually it's just, like, create a treasure token. Okay? And reminder text wouldn't help anyways. But, like, if banana was actually just, like, a known thing typically, and it was just, like, create a banana, and it didn't have, like, the reminder text for what that did, I would assume, and the reminder text, like, actually wouldn't affect that anyways. Like, wouldn't this just be, like, a Gruul commander, but because, like, banana's not a typical thing, like, it just says out all the things and it has the colors on it? Get back to me. Thank you. Anyways, whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put a grave from the battlefield, put a counter on each creature you control. It's an ape or monkey. Whenever Kibo attacks, defending player sacrifices an artifact. This is a commander that says, hey, you know what? Everyone gets bananas. Bananas for you. Bananas for me. Bananas for everyone. Hey, extra free mana. What's not to like about that? Also life gain as well. That's great. Congratulations. Use your bananas. Except when you do, my army's going to get bigger. Yeah, so being able to just get a bunch of counters on your creatures and then be aggressive and also attack with attack, making, player sacrifice artifacts too. They might want to hold on to their banana potentially sometimes because they don't want to sacrifice any of their other artifacts, so it changes up the way they play on that. But yeah, just granting opponents like extra mana in some ways and extra life gain can change up how they play. And especially when doing so, when sacrificing those things makes your army stronger, yeah, you can do some pretty cool things with this one, and it definitely changes up how your opponents play the game. And with that, this episode is come to a close. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.